Good morning, class. My name is Tony-Osondu, an impartial fulfillment of Introduction to Contemporary Indigenous Issue Studies. I am here to discuss and reflect over issues, current issues, and trending issues of the indigenous people of Brazil. Brazil is located in South America, as you all know. It is one of the only two South American countries that does not recognize tribal land ownership. The Portuguese were the first European settlers to arrive in Brazil, led by adventurers Pedro Cabral, who began the colonial period in 1500. Native Indians numbered 7 million Amazonians. Brazil is an ancestral home of 1 million Indians, and they are divided into 400 tribes, each with its own language, culture, and territory. When the Portuguese explorers first arrived in Brazil in April 1500, they found to their astonishment a wide coastline rich in resources, teeming with hundreds of thousands of Indian people living in a paradise of natural riches. At the time of European arrival, the territory of current-day Brazil had as many as 2,000 nations and tribes. The indigenous people were traditionally mostly semi-nomadic tribes who subsisted on hunting, fishing, gathering, and migrant agriculture. For hundreds of years, the indigenous people of Brazil lived a semi-nomadic life, managing the forest to meet their needs. When the Portuguese arrived in 1500, the natives were living mainly on the coast and along the banks of major rivers. Initially, the Europeans saw native people as noble savages, and miscegenations of the populations began right there. Portuguese claims of tribal warfare, cannibalism, and the pursuit of Amazonian Brazil wealth for its own treasured red dye convinced the Portuguese that they should civilize the natives. But the Portuguese, like the Spanish in their North American territories, had brought diseases with them, against which many Indians were helpless due to lack of immunity. Measles, smallpox, tuberculosis, and influenza killed tens of thousands. The diseases spread quickly along the indigenous trade routes, and it's likely that whole tribes were annihilated without ever coming in direct contact with Europeans. Wiped out by their government actions. They maintain that their lands play a vital role in maintaining biodiversity. They affirm that indigenous people are people, human beings. They have blood like others. They told the president they were born. They also told him that they will grow and they will also die on their land like any other person on earth. The indigenous people are ready to dialogue, but they are ready to defend themselves. Happening now. President Jair Bolsonaro has been sworn in as the 38th president of Brazil. He openly expressed disdain for the indigenous people of Brazil. While the indigenous people and other outgroups think that he is a far-right, homophobic, and misogynist who encourages torture, his supporters think that he is a non-nonsense style who will tackle corruption and the weak economy. President Jair Bolsonaro has started his administration in the worst possible way for the indigenous people of Brazil. Over 200 indigenous organizations are at the forefront of the battle to defend their hard-won rights. Hundreds of Indians took to the street last year to protest against the government's plans to weaken their rights. Many ran their own projects, health clinics, and bilingual schools. The cons established a museum to showcase their technologies, art, culture, and language to white people. The president made many racist and offensive remarks about indigenous people in Brazil over a long period of time. President Jair Bolsonaro, a far-right nationalist politician, took office on January 1st, 2019. He is a former army captain. He has made most racist and offensive remarks about indigenous people of Brazil. In April 12, 1998, Correio Brasília newspaper recorded that the president stated that it was a shame that the Brazilian cavalry has not been as evident as the Americans who exterminate the Indians. Does this mean wiping out the Indians? On April 22, 2015, Campo Grande News reported that President JB made a racist remark when he stated that the Indians do not speak their language, they do not have money, they do not have culture, they are native peoples. How did they manage to get 13% of the national territory? Furthermore, on that same April 22, 2015, the same Campo Grande News reported that the president said that indigenous people are the obstacle to mining and agribusiness when the president stated that there was no indigenous territory where there are not minerals, gold, tin and magnesium are in these lands, especially in the Amazon, the richest area in the world. I'm not getting into this nonsense of defending land for Indians. Indigenous resources, I quote, are an obstacle to agribusiness. You can't reduce indigenous land by even a square meter in Brazil. On April 2, 2017, the president had an interview with Marcelino Gunde Estar de Sao Paulo when he mentioned that he fought with Jabas Passambo, former Minister of Justice, right there. He fought with them about the high treason he committed in demarcating the Yanomama Reserve. More so, on April 3, 2017, Hebrew Club Rio de Janeiro carried that President Bolsonaro stated that not a centimeter will be demarcated either as an indigenous reserve or as a quilombola. Quilombola means territory for descendants of African slave communities. In addition to the above, on the 3rd of April 2017, Osondu carried that the president stated that he can be sure that if he gets there, that is, if he is elected as the president of Brazil, there will be no money for NGOs. If it was up to him, every citizen will have a firearm in the house. There will not be a centimeter demarcated for indigenous reservations or quilombola. On February 8, 2018, Dorado Mato Grosso also reported that the president stated that if he became president, there will not be a centimeter talk more of indigenous land. On June 10, 2018, Correio do Estado Videiro carried that the president stated that the unilateral policies of demarcating indigenous land by the executive will cease to exist. Any reserve that he can reduce in size, he will do so. It will be a very big fight that they are going to have with United Nations. On January 21, 2016, in Congress carried that President Bolsonaro stated on abolishing existing indigenous territories, stated that in 2019, they are going to rig up Rapsosierra do Sul, indigenous territory in Roraima, northern Brazil. They are going to give all the ranchers guns. On August 3, 2018, Global News stated that the president mentioned that they are going to integrate indigenous people into society, just like the army, which did a great job of this by incorporating the Indians into the armed forces. On August 1st, 2018, Espirito Santo stated that he was going to dismantle FUNAI. FUNAI is Brazilian Department for Indigenous Affairs. He mentioned that if he was elected, he would serve a blow to FUNAI, a blow to the neck. There was no other way. It was not useful anymore. After going through the current issues being faced by the indigenous people of Brazil, I can say without any iota of doubt that the First Nations people should be aware of the Memorandum of Understanding they are about signing with the government before they are turned into society. One thing about the doctrine of discovery is that the Europeans made the indigenous people of such nations look inferior, and they pretend that they have come to sanitize indigenous areas. We could recall that diseases such as measles, smallpox, and chickenpox were spread by the Europeans, and such diseases annihilated many pre-contact people. In conclusion, indigenous people should continue to carry out peaceful protests until they win the war. Thank you. Thank you for listening. This comes to the end of my presentation.